Okay, what is a mud flood? A mud flood is a tsunami, and we all know what a tsunami is. Now, tsunamis happen, and we know why. It's due to earthquakes in the ocean, dropping land up and down. We also know, due to Ben Davison and suspicious observers, that all earthquakes are electrical, and China has sent up a satellite to measure the precursors of sun magnetic activity, because when the sun goes boom, so does the earth, because the earth is connected to the sun by electromagnetism. So what you're seeing on screen was the 311 Japanese earthquake, and as you can see, there's devastation. This is what's known as a mud flood. Now, people might sit there and say no. The only reason this isn't a catastrophic, even though it is, a catastrophic mud flood that covers the entire land, is because this was just a small earthquake. Now, the ones that certain people are talking about throughout history have been happening every 11,000 years. And every 11,000 years, there appears to be a pole reversal. And what happens is the planet, while the sun rises in the east, comes to what's known as an electric current sheet in space, and the current reverses. And so the Earth slows down and starts spinning backwards. So anybody near the coast will suffer a flood as the Earth rolls backwards and the sea pours onto land. Now, if this happens in 12 hours of backwards rotation, you can understand that a full continental mud flood, which is where the water gathers rocks and stones and pulverizes every single thing in its path. Now, where's the evidence of this, Lee? Well, here's the evidence. Okay, so is there any evidence of there ever being a mud flood? Well, if we go to sciencefocus.com, we will see that mammoth hunters are now helping the ivory trade in Russia, because in Russia there is a mammoth graveyard. Now, what it's saying here is that some blame human hunting, some climate change, others a bit of both. What we do know is that the mammoths disappeared from Siberia 10,000 years ago. Then from their final hiding place, a northerly island called Wrangel, about 3,700 years ago. Now, Siberia is a massive mammoth graveyard, and it's estimated that the remains of hundreds of thousands of individual animals lie buried in the permafrost. Now, when you think of permafrost and ice, you think of an ice cube. Well, let's have a look at where these hundreds of thousands of animals were buried and trapped and immediately frozen, because they found mammoths with all the fur on and food in their stomach. So they were flash frozen at the same time. So something incredible happened. Let's have a look at where it's buried, because you're thinking of an ice cube. Well, this is where they're buried. That in the center is a tusk. But as you can see, it is ice mud. This was a mud flood from 11,000 years ago, when the planet's rotation reversed due to going through a change of orientation electric current sheet in space, a pole reversal, and basically the planet started rolling backwards. So the sea doesn't just stop moving, it carries on. Fluid likes to carry on when something is reversed. So the whole of Siberia, which used to be lush, was then torn to pieces as the world rotated backwards and the sea came flying onto the land, and it gathered up everything in its path and turned everything to mud. And so a mud flood covered the whole of Siberia and buried 100,000 mammoths immediately. The very fact that they've been found undecomposed with fur and skin and everything says that it happened immediately. They aren't just fossilized bones or anything like that in there. No, 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 no. There's full animals. So this isn't like where they went to die. This is where they were gathered up and deposited under a mud flood. Now, if you live in an electric universe like I do, and you've watched enough electric universe videos to understand that gravity isn't real, it's electromagnetism, and that the universe is electric and everything in space can be explained by electric universe science, whereas gravity fails miserably, you just go and ask a few questions on Wikipedia and you get things like ice ages are said to have occurred every 150 million years and last for 1 million years. According to the Ice Age theory, our current warm period will end with the beginning of another cold phase in 23,000 years' time. Geologists claim that there have been 5 major ice ages. Well, there have been 5 major extinctions. And in the electric universe, things happen very quickly. They don't need millions of years. So you can carry on believing in gravity fusion and believe that hundreds of millions of years, or you can believe in an electric universe where we understand that more energy in means more work done. And if there's a voltage energy level dropping of how much power there is within our universe, then work done upon atoms will become slower and less. So these 150 million years are based upon carbon dating and radiometric dating, which has already been proven to be highly dubious, and they're not accounting for a energy level drop over however many years we have been here. So in the electric universe, we understand that if there's been 5 major extinctions, they've been recently. Mass extinctions, paleontology and geology. The extinctions are clustered in a short amount of geological time. A few million years is very short in terms of geological time. But as we can see from the 600 million years at the bottom here, these are spaced extremely regular, and it looks like we're due another one. So I would contest without any doubt that this time scale in an electric universe, where it doesn't take millions of years for things to form or millions of years for things to happen, this time scale is massively wrong. Because all extinctions on the Earth, even the one that's about to arrive, is based upon what the sun is doing. And the sun is connected to a galactic circuit, which is connected to a universal circuit. And disruptions, increases, drops of power within these Birkeland current circuits will result in something going pop. Carbon buildup on an engine could be anything, but the sun basically is the thing that keeps destroying our planet. And what does God say about this? God says, I will chastise and scourge Israel 5, even 6 times. Funny how God says that, and he sends a natural disaster and everybody dies. There's been 5 extinctions, and God says that. I will strike Israel 5, even 6 times. So now you know that these disasters are biblical too. Praise God, for he is real and he showed me everything. Now we're going to have a listen to somebody who denies mud floods. I haven't bothered putting in the video words that he's referring to. I've just put in his words. And I'm not going to narrate, but I've put words on the screen to show whether this person's words are science, no science, opinion, or belief, or just generally not real. It was funny. So I've just laid out with a little bit of evidence that mud floods are real, and I'm sure with a little bit of more research I could find other places, towns, cities. Obviously archaeology, we dig downwards to show buildings. So mud flood, not mud flood. You can be the decider on this, but I'd like you to listen to a becoming famous YouTube star and listen to his science in refuting mud floods.
Sometimes even I have to see what I'm believing when it comes to conspiracy theories, and recently it seems like a pretty big one has passed me by. Hello all and welcome to another episode of Tinfoil Tuesday with me, Simon Dan. Thank you ever so much for joining me. Yes, of course, we're talking about the mud flood conspiracy today. The idea that at some point in the past a giant mud flood covered the entire earth, destroying entire civilizations and burying all our buildings up to 2 meters deep. Now, of course, they have way more evidence than just these really old photos of buildings, guys. Don't worry about that. Well, I hope they do anyway. Let's find out. Computer, do these mud flooders have any decent forms of evidence?
I wouldn't hold your breath.
Ah, that doesn't sound very good, does it? Computer, what sort of conspiracy theory / evidence ratio are we talking here?
Given the amount of evidence that is available for a worldwide mud flood, they are on a par with flat earthers.
Degree of certainty?
97.86%.
Right. Well, we better find the best possible video with the best possible proof, hadn't we? Computer, please upload the video with the most sensationalised title in terms of proof for a mud flood.
The file is ready.
On screen? Awesome. Let's run it. Now come on, this train could be transporting anything to anywhere. You cannot say it is definitely mud being transported from the mud flood. I don't think that mound is supposed to be directly next to that building in that image. It looks like it's supposed to be more in the foreground. I believe when he mentions this Tartarian, he's talking about the civilization that existed before we did. You know, the one that the mud flood wiped out entirely. Energy harnessing antennas. I think you'll find it's just decorative architecture. Oh wow, we'll definitely be taking a look at that one. Really? Well, that's crazy that they've got different architectural patterns. Even if that was the case, what does it prove? And this, I believe, is their entire argument, which is quite simply ridiculous. Because it's just an image of an old building site. That's why. It proves nothing. Ah, so that's how it's done. I never knew. Seriously though, it was utter rubbish. Yes, it was 809, that's it. Before America was even discovered. I'm sure it was. Oh, come on. Surely he's having us on now. I don't think I can take much more of this. Yeah, probably not. I do not believe that there was a mud flood. That was easy. Right, I'm giving you one more chance. Show me something that is viable. That's it, I'm done. Not yet dug out. Bloody hell.
And so that was Dan, because you can't call him Simon Dan anymore, surely. That was Dan debunking a mud flood. Well, we all know what I just showed. So thanks very much. Just again showing that Simon Dan is following a routine and doesn't know anything about science. Thanks very much. My name is Lee. I follow the Christ, and I'm gonna keep on doing this. Actually, I spoke with God and had a good pray with him, and he just keeps throwing all this silly information out. And so, without actually being mean, it's a lot easier to just show that he's confused and deluded. He's not Dunning-Kruger, because a Dunning-Kruger is somebody who overestimates themselves. Someone who's deluded means they believe something to be real when in fact it is fantasy, which is him with his gravity, his tectonic plate movement, and now the mud flood. So please understand there was a mud flood because the Earth is going to reverse its rotation, which is why our magnetic field is shutting down, and so is the sun's. So be prepared to meet God. Could happen tomorrow, could happen within the next 20 years. See, electricity's funny like that, and no man knows the hour or the day. Thanks a lot.